Given that silver's price has dropped about $5 the past couple of days, there are some real questions about silver's ability to preserve your wealth. Well, it's an understandable reaction. It's even gotten so bad that some are even considering giving up on the metal. Well, my answer to that is no. This is not the time to give up on silver. In fact, quite the opposite. I'm going to explain in this video why you should hold on to your silver and stay true to the cause of silver stacking in this video as we explore. Now, I could say that there's more to silver than just its price, but that would be very dismissive of silver and your situation. And in reality, price is extremely important. We all understand that because in the end, we will have to liquidate silver for these dollars. And even if you live in a state that has recognized gold and silver as legal tender, but we're not at a stage yet where we can actually use it to make purchases. And even so, it is still subject to market volatility, such as we have seen over the past couple of days. But there is a growing number of folks on this channel who have really not been stacking a whole long of a time, or maybe have been stacking a long time irregularly. They're asking the question about if it's worth it, especially considering that silver has done the exact opposite of what many of us in this community and those of us who are, quote, influencers say about silver as a wealth preservation device in times of market instability and economic uncertainty. And I can't think of a more economic uncertain time than right now, as there's a reordering, a shuffling of the whole economic order with these tariffs. We've not seen something like this for about 100 years, this wide array of different tariffs going into effect. And I don't want to get into a tariff debate on this video, but nonetheless, there are some things about this that hold true. Number one, tariffs indeed are taxes, and higher taxes is really never a good thing in the long run. However, I think if we're going to reorder the way we tax Americans and the world, then if that is something that I'm more open-minded to now than ever before, especially if we can replace the income tax. Notwithstanding, there are pluses and minuses to what Trump is doing, and one of the pluses very well may be what's going on in the stock market right now, as many people feel that the stock market is overvalued, and really that's a lot of just derivatives that are out there, and by the way, those derivatives also infect the gold and silver markets as well. The big sell-off that we saw really is a paper reaction to what has been going on in the markets. And people run to the safety of this every single time there's a market downturn. Without fail, we saw this happen in March of 2020 when silver literally fell to below $12 an ounce, only to later double in price, well above $24. And in reality, what we've been seeing here the past couple of days has only chipped away at silver's gains that we've been seeing over the past 18 months. And could it continue on Sunday night? And by the way, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I do a market watch where we pay attention to the metals as they open up in Asia. And many of those times we have seen a foretaste of what's going to be coming for the week. Will we see a continued slaughter of the precious metal prices? Or will we see a consolidation to the point where we see silver's price recover and snap back? It's happened before, and I think it's going to happen again. Now, we have to understand something about silver. The fundamentals have not changed and will not change with regards to the metal. However, one way that it is looked at these days, more so than ever before, hence why we have such a wide gold to silver ratio, especially now that it's above 100 to 1. In fact, right now it's at 102.75. That's what I closed at. But it did get as high as 126 to 1 back in March of, or somewhere around that time during 2020 and what happened there. But there's a reordering and reshuffling of everything in this regard, and tariffs obviously are at the root of it. Silver's price dropped because of multiple different factors with regards to the bloodletting of the markets, but also because it was not going to be taxed coming in. gold and silver are exempt. And the jury is still out as to whether platinum or palladium will be either. But so far, they are moving in concert with gold and silver right now. All of the metals are at this point, including rhodium, have dropped. And but silver has dropped the most, largely because of a fear of recession, which means that its industrial demand may not be as heavy as it has been over the past 4 years now. And so, therefore, I think it's something that is a dramatic impact on the market. Now, at times like this, when it's low, is a good time to buy. My friends at Summit Metals, they have really good deals right now. And for those of you who are in the market, I would encourage you to not give up, but to actually buy a few ounces if you can, or whatever you can afford. And in fact, their business is doing really well right now, and there are people taking advantage of these dips for sure. In fact, there are some whales coming in over at Summit Metals buying bulk, big time, so much so that they have set up now a new section of their website called Bullion Reserve. So check out Bullion Reserve just to kind of see what kind of things some of the big boys are doing. And of course, they appreciate all customers. And this is one of those things where they're starting to accommodate larger purchases right now. And so it's an amazing selection they have there for the larger quantities there that do provide a pretty big savings. Otherwise, most of us can't make those kind of purchases, but they still have very competitive and low prices, even for the smallest purchases that you may make over at summitmetals.com. But with silver, I think it's interesting that people, question whether or not it will preserve your wealth. Now, we have to take into account certain factors whenever we buy it in the physical form, such as you see here, which is why I want to be as realistic as possible about it. You have to take into account inflation. And by the way, why is it that during inflation running hot at 9%, according to the most conservative estimates from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which really often is considered the chief amongst the chefs at the Cook the Books Club, why is it the stock market didn't get pummeled like it is getting now? Because that is much more disruptive in my view with high inflation that we're seeing. Tariffs are a tax. Tariffs do not cause inflation. And Jerome Powell repeated that mantra again, and shame on him. He knows better than to do that. It is a direct shot across the bow at Trump's policies. Notwithstanding, taxes do increase prices, but this is a tax that comes from goods coming into the country, which will increase revenue into the Treasury and also increase economic activity within the country. And so you have to look at that. Now, it's going to take a little bit of time to make that shift over, and there's going to be some pain in the interim. But nonetheless, not everything is going to go up in price. And since we are cutting back on some spending and saving to the deficit, it's just going to matter of time before things get better, which will, in a sense, boost the market in a natural way. Because a lot of the market has been propped up by, government spending. And all of these employees that have been let go from the government, they will find other jobs, and they have really healthy severance packages as well. And I think that, in a sense, what we're seeing is just a shift. And I think that in time, we're going to see everything come back together. More demand for silver will come back into play. And more than likely, sometime, and it may not be in May, even though that's what Trump wants, but I think maybe June or maybe July, we may see our first rate cut for the year. And usually these rate cuts bode well for gold and silver. And so they're going to come and bounce back. But when you think about the fundamentals of buying silver, you have to understand inflation is there. And so the price of it now compared to where it was, even though it may seem like you had a pretty big gain, you have to adjust for inflation, which means you're about to break even. And you have to also consider the premiums that you paid for the silver when you bought it. How does that match up with what you're going to lose when you go to sell it? What kind of market is it going to be when you go to sell? If it's any indication what we've been seeing the last 6 months, you're going to get a whole lot less for your silver than you had before, because there's a glut of it coming back from people selling their silver. And so that's the worst time to sell your silver. And so I'm encouraging folks to hold on to your silver. You may give up buying for now, but at least hold on. You don't lose until you sell, and you don't want to sell at the absolute worst time either. So I would not give up on silver. and just hang on to it. Ride this out. This too shall pass. We may or may not have a couple of more days of this downward movement in the stock market, but I think in some of it is a healthy cleansing of the market as well too. And in the end, silver is going to outperform all of this, and it is going to render itself, show itself again as what it has been for thousands of years, as a hedge against all of this madness. It just takes a little time. It gets hurt in the wake of it because it is traded like a commodity. It is traded in the paper markets, and we have to understand and navigate these waters as such. When you understand that, and you see these couple of days, and we could have a brutal week next week. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know, but in the end, the wake of it, silver is going to come out not on top, but it's going to come out just fine in order to preserve your wealth. And that is really the bottom line. And there's something else that I've been saying all through the time that silver got up to almost $35 an ounce, and I say it again, and this time as well too. No matter what the price is, you've got yourself some sort of wealth outside of the system from which we find ourselves apart. Folks, that is extremely powerful, and this is why I believe in it. It is something that will never go to zero. Yes, it may fall, it may be even another 20% from now next week. You never know. If it does, well, then I know it is something that is sharp, dramatic, and it's going to bounce back. I know it. And it is only an opportunity if you have the money to make a purchase. However, make no mistake, you should not buy a single ounce if you can't afford to do so, even as tempting as it may be. If you're going to be stretching yourself to make a purchase after a massive, massive dip through a week, a 20, 30% drop, and you can really load the boat, don't do it. Don't buy a single ounce if your budget won't allow, if you're going to go into debt to do that. As tempting as it may be, you might end up getting burned in the end. It's about your own personal situation. Each individual out there can and has, they very well can, that not everybody has, but everybody can preserve your wealth with silver if you do it right. And how do you do it right? Well, really it boils down to common sense. Number one, dollar cost average. Make a purchase through the highs, through the lows, and everything in between. And then number two, enhance it a bit and give yourself the edge by buying a little bit more when the price dips. And if you can afford to do so now, it's not a bad time to do it. And a little bit less, or maybe not at all, when the price spikes. Do not give in to fear when you're buying on the way up or on the way down, folks. That is crucially important, because in the end, there's going to be enough silver for everybody, and that's for sure. We're seeing that right now. There's a glut of it out there, but there are some big buyers at play right now. There are people taking an advantage at this point in time. There's smart buyers making their way into the market, and this is a good time if you can do it. And the biggest and most powerful thing, as I mentioned previously, is to take part in the ultimate silver squeeze, as I mentioned before. What is that ultimate silver squeeze? This. Hold on tightly to your silver. Hang in there. The more time that you hold on to it, the more it's going to preserve your wealth over the long course of time. You do that, you're going to be okay with your silver, and you're going to preserve your wealth. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. I hope you found this video informative, insightful, and educational. Would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.